I took a second job to pay for my wife's dream business. I skipped meals, slept in my car between shifts, and sold my guitar to keep us afloat. One night, I came home early and heard her laughing upstairs. "He thinks he's building our future," she whispered. "I'm just waiting for his credit to tank." I stood there, frozen, holding a bag of groceries she'd never touch. She was in bed with her business partner. 2 weeks later, I closed the business, transferred the lease to her name, and watched her crumble when the bills hit. She called me screaming. I just said, "Good luck, CEO." I never thought this would be my life. I used to have it all mapped out. Work hard. Save money. Build a future with someone who cared about me the way I cared about them. It sounds stupid now, but back then it made sense. Her name was Marcy. We met at a friend's bonfire party just outside of Columbus, Ohio. She wore this faded denim jacket and smelled like vanilla and campfire smoke. She smiled at me like I was the only person there. We dated 2 years before getting married. Nothing fancy, a courthouse wedding, sandwiches and cake in my mom's backyard. I thought simple was good. I thought it meant we were grounded. Real. After the wedding, she started talking about her dream. She wanted to open her own boutique, not just a little side hustle, but a full storefront downtown. She had the whole thing planned out: natural skincare products, cute boho clothes, candles, journals, crystals. All the trendy stuff. She said there was nothing like it nearby, and she was right. The closest thing was in downtown Columbus, and those places were packed. She just didn't have the money to make it happen. Neither did I. I had a solid job, warehouse supervisor at a logistics company, but it wasn't big money. So, without being asked, I picked up a second job. Nights at a Speedway gas station on the other side of town. Minimum wage, crap customers, terrible food, but it was work. Work meant money. I started doing 16-hour days, 6 days a week. Sometimes 7 when the other guy called in sick. I slept in my car when the schedule didn't make sense to drive home. Ate gas station sandwiches and old donuts. Lost weight without trying. When I told Marcy, she cried. She said I was amazing. She said she didn't deserve me. She said it was our dream and she was going to make me proud. For a while, that got me through. The boutique started coming together. She found a little spot off Main Street. Brick walls, big front windows. It was perfect. She spent weeks picking paint colors, ordering inventory, working on a website. She posted little teaser photos online. People got excited. I got excited. I thought we were building something real. God, I was stupid. The cracks started showing around month 3. Marcy didn't act excited anymore. She acted stressed, snappy. If I asked questions, about rent, about sales, about bills, she got defensive fast. "You don't trust me," she'd snap. I backed off. I figured she was just overwhelmed. New businesses were hard. Meanwhile, I was still grinding. Still working both jobs. Still scraping together money for her dream. I didn't know it then, but she wasn't alone. The night it all came crashing down, I wasn't even supposed to be home. A kid at the gas station begged me to let him cover my shift. He said he had a girl he wanted to see. I figured I'd let him. I was exhausted anyway. I thought it would be nice to surprise Marcy. Bring her some groceries, maybe some cheap wine, just spend some time together. I stopped at the Kroger near our house. Grabbed a bottle of barefoot wine, a frozen pizza, a box of pasta. Nothing fancy. I was tired, my brain foggy. I just wanted to sit on the couch and be near her. When I pulled into the driveway, everything looked normal. Lights on upstairs. Curtains closed. I didn't even think. I just grabbed the bag and headed in. I heard it halfway up the stairs. Marcy laughing. Not the polite, tired laugh I'd been hearing for months. This was the laugh from our early days, rich, sparkling, full of life. It froze me in place. I heard her say something, low, conspiratorial. Then a man's voice, laughing with her. And then words that burned into my brain. He thinks he's building our future, she whispered, breathless with laughter. Let him, he said, cocky. His name's on everything. When it crashes, he takes the hit, not us. I stood there on the stairs, grocery bag dangling from my hand. The box of pasta slipped out and bounced down the steps. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just stood there and let it all sink in. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning it. Planning for me to be the fall guy. Planning for me to burn while she walked away clean. I walked back out the front door without a sound. I got into my car. I drove to the lake. I sat there until the sun started to rise, sipping warm energy drinks and staring at the black water. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I felt blank. Numb. Like the part of me that cared had been scooped out and thrown into the lake. Somewhere around 4 a.m., a plan started to take shape. The next few weeks were almost mechanical. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I played dumb. The tired, overworked husband. The perfect mark. Meanwhile, I started taking everything back. I called the landlord. Told him I needed to transfer the lease to Marcy because I was moving out of state. Told him she'd handle everything going forward. Signed the necessary papers. Walked away. I called the business suppliers. Told them to update the accounts under her name only. I shifted all my money to a new account at a bank across town. Quietly rerouted my paychecks. I paid off my personal debts. Cancelled my old credit cards. Opened new ones she didn't know about. One by one, I cut every tie between myself and the boutique. Meanwhile, I let all the business-related debts pile up. Inventory. Utilities. Insurance. All in her name now. I moved out. Said I needed time to clear my head. She barely noticed. She was too busy texting on her phone, whispering into it when she thought I couldn't hear. I guess she thought she'd won. The fallout came fast. The first collections notice arrived on a Wednesday. I wasn't there to see it, but I imagine her opening the letter, reading it, and realizing she was screwed. The calls started the next day. At first, polite. Hey, babe, did you forget to pay the electric bill? Then more frantic. Babe, the rent bounced, they're threatening eviction. Finally, pure rage. What did you do? You can't leave me with this. I didn't answer. I just watched the messages stack up. Blocked her number. The last time I saw her, she showed up at my buddy Eric's place, where I was crashing. She looked awful. Eyes red. Makeup smeared. Hair messy. She pounded on the door until I opened it. She was screaming before I even said a word. You ruined me. You selfish son of a bitch. How could you do this to me? I just stared at her. For the first time in months, I felt something. Not love. Not hate. Just clarity. I stepped outside, stood in front of her, and said, "Good luck, CEO." Then I closed the door. She stood there pounding and screaming until Eric threatened to call the cops. She finally left, sobbing. I heard later that she had to declare bankruptcy. The business partner she thought she could run away with bailed as soon as things got tough. Turns out he wasn't the ride or die she thought he was. Last I heard, she was living back with her parents, working at a call center, and posting bitter quotes about betrayal on Facebook. Meanwhile, I'm rebuilding. Got a cheap apartment. Bought a used guitar. Play it some nights, just for me. For the first time in a long time, I'm sleeping through the night. After a few months, I really thought it was over. Marcy was out of my life. I had started breathing easier again. I picked up extra hours at work, started saving a little. Even joined a local pool league with some guys from the warehouse. Things felt normal for the first time in a long time. Then the letters started coming. Not from her. From lawyers. Turns out Marcy wasn't just mad. She was trying to come after me legally. She filed a lawsuit. Emotional damages, the letter said. Abandonment of joint business obligations, another one claimed. At first, I laughed. Really laughed. First real laugh in months. But the more I read, the more serious it looked. She was trying to make it look like I had tricked her. That I set her up to fail. That I dumped everything on her out of spite. She wanted money. Lots of it. The papers said she was demanding $75,000. Money I didn't have. Money I had never even seen it once in my whole life. My hands were shaking when I called my buddy Eric. He used to work for a divorce attorney before he got into construction. He came over that night, six-pack in hand, and looked over the paperwork. When he was done, he looked at me and said, "You're screwed if you don't fight back, man." I scraped together what little I had and hired a lawyer. Not a fancy one. Just some guy named Mr. Brennan who had a tiny office near the bus station. But he was a fighter. Old guy. Didn't believe in sugarcoating anything. You didn't protect yourself on paper, he said the first day. But if you can prove she was messing around, planning to ditch you while you were bankrolling everything, we might have a shot. That's when I remembered the cameras. A few months before everything blew up, I installed a cheap Ring camera on our front door and a baby monitor camera upstairs. Not for security, mostly because Marcy kept ordering packages and they kept getting stolen. I had forgotten all about them. I dug into my old email account and sure enough, some cloud server still had the recording saved. There it was. The night I came home early. Audio wasn't perfect, but you could clearly hear them upstairs, laughing, talking about screwing me over. I downloaded everything onto a flash drive. I handed it to Brennan like it was pure gold. He grinned, and it wasn't a friendly grin. Court day came. I wore my best pair of jeans and a clean button-up. Marcy showed up in a tight black dress like she was attending a funeral. Heavy makeup. Fake sad face. Her lawyer, some smug guy in a shiny blue suit, stood up and started spinning a whole story about emotional betrayal, financial coercion, and abandonment. I sat there, fists clenched, letting them say whatever they wanted. When it was our turn, Brennan stood up, slow and steady. He didn't say much. Just played the recording. Marcy's face went dead white the second her own voice came out of the little speaker. Let him. His name's on everything. When it crashes, he takes the hit, not us. The courtroom went silent. Her lawyer looked like someone had kicked him in the stomach. The judge, some older woman with sharp eyes, leaned back in her chair and just stared at Marcy for a long minute. Then she spoke. Case dismissed. Mr. Maddox, you're free to go. Mrs. Maddox, you're lucky he's not countersuing you for fraud. I walked out of that courthouse feeling 20 pounds lighter. But it wasn't over. Not for her. I thought after court, Marcy would finally crawl back under her rock. But I should have known better. People like her don't know when to quit. 2 weeks after the case got thrown out, I was walking out of the warehouse late at night when I noticed my truck had been messed with. Someone had keyed the sides, deep enough that the paint curled up. Words scratched into the metal: cheater, thief, liar. At first, I thought it was just random vandalism. Then I saw the envelope tucked under my wiper blade. Inside was a single sheet of paper, torn out of a notebook. Written in thick black marker: "You think this is over? You owe me." No name. No return address. But I knew. I knew exactly who it was. I filed a police report for the vandalism, but there wasn't much they could do without catching her in the act. And deep down, I didn't want to waste more time playing defense. I was tired of reacting. It was time to finish this. I spent the next few days quietly gathering information. I still had access to an old Facebook account we once shared for the boutique. Marcy never bothered changing the passwords. I dug around and found gold. She had started dating someone new, a guy named Trevor. Mid-30s, worked security at some trashy strip mall. Big tattoos, bad attitude. The kind of guy who thought yelling at cashiers made him tough. Worse, she was talking big on Facebook. Acting like she was about to start a new business. Bragging about investors. About securing funding. Showing off pictures of business meetings that were just her and Trevor getting drunk at some dive bar. It was all fake. All smoke and mirrors. And I realized something: she wasn't done ruining her own life, she was about to drag somebody else down with her. So I made a few calls. First, I tipped off the landlord she had stiffed, told him she was using his old building in her new business pitches. Sent screenshots. He was furious. Said he was already thinking about suing her for back rent. Second, I called the suppliers she had ghosted months ago, the ones who were still trying to find her to collect payments. Gave them her new address. Gave them Trevor's name too, since she was putting bills under his name now. Third, I reported her for business fraud. Anonymous tip to the Ohio Attorney General's office. If she was trying to raise money under fake promises, she was breaking the law. Badly. I didn't hear much for a few weeks. Just silence. Felt like waiting for a storm. Then the messages started popping up on social media. Not from her, from Trevor. Angry posts. Weird, half-literate rants about lying bitches and people stealing money. Pictures of broken furniture. Empty rooms. One post stood out: "Some people deserve everything bad that happens to them." The comments were brutal. Friends and family tearing Marcy apart. Calling her a scammer. Saying she conned them for money and skipped town. Turns out, Marcy had tricked Trevor into investing in her new boutique. He handed over most of his savings, close to $15,000. And when the heat closed in, she bolted. Left him broke. Left him furious. Left him dangerous. I didn't know exactly where she went. Some people said she moved to Indiana. Others said she was couch surfing in Dayton. Nobody really knew. She dropped off the map. For a while, I thought that was the end. But it wasn't. Not yet. Months passed. Winter came. I tried to put everything behind me. Focused on work. Played my guitar. Stayed out of trouble. But deep down, something kept eating at me. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough that Marcy lost her fake businesses. It wasn't enough that she got chased out of town. It wasn't enough that Trevor lost his money and his pride. Because the truth was, I had made mistakes too. I let it happen. I built the whole mess myself. I didn't protect myself. I trusted blindly. I gave and gave until there was nothing left. That part was on me. One night, after a long shift, I got a call from Eric. He sounded weird. Nervous. "Man, you need to hear this," he said. He sent me a screenshot. It was from a Facebook group for people warning about local scams and bad business deals. There, plain as day, was Marcy's face. New name. New town. New scam. She was in Richmond, Indiana now. Claiming to be opening a women's empowerment center. Asking for donations. Promising jobs. Stealing from people who already had nothing. I stared at the screen for a long time. I could have walked away. Could have said, "Not my problem." But I didn't. Not this time. I made a burner Facebook account. Pretended to be a local woman looking for work. Messaged Marcy. She replied fast. Told me all about her big plans. Said for a small donation, I could reserve a management position. Told me her business would be huge. That this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Same old lies, just dressed up prettier. I played along for a week. Asked questions. Gathered details. Got enough proof to make it clear she was committing fraud again. Then I went to war. I sent everything to the Richmond police. Sent it to the county prosecutor. Sent it to every local Facebook group, every local news tip line. People were furious. Women who had already given her money came forward. Families she scammed for donations came forward. It exploded. Police opened an investigation. Marcy got arrested 2 weeks later for fraud and wire theft. They dragged her out of some crappy motel off the highway. The mugshot hit Facebook that night. Her eyes swollen from crying. Still wearing that fake sad smile. Trevor, meanwhile, didn't move on either. After losing everything to Marcy, he spiraled hard. Got arrested for fighting some guy at a bar. Lost his job. Last I heard, he was living in a tent city outside Dayton. Posting angry rants about women and fake friends on social media, begging for money. And me? I didn't get off clean either. Even though I pulled myself out of that mess, part of me stayed bitter. Harder. Meaner. I found it hard to trust people. I kept everyone at arm's length. Even the good ones. I stopped dating. Stopped getting close to people. Some nights I sit on the porch with my guitar and wonder if I'll ever really feel normal again. Maybe I won. Maybe I survived. But I sure as hell didn't walk away whole. In the end, nobody won. We all just lost differently. And I guess that's the real price of revenge.